Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Aquaviva. Here. Dr. Anderson. Here. Mrs. Caldwell. Here. Mr. Colson.
Here.
Mr. Kolar.
Here.
Mrs. Rosler. Here. Mr. Rogers.
Here.
Mr. Schlupp.
Here.
Mr. Zuko.
I am here.
And Ms. Maria Zura. Here.
All right, thank you. The board met in executive session on October 8th, 2019 to discuss matters of litigation, safety, personnel, and real estate. This time I'd like to welcome Judge Zuko for swearing in of our new assistant superintendent.
Okay. All right, we're gonna do this, right? Okay. Standing this way? Certainly. Well, maybe this way. Will you be on the camera?
This is perfect.
All right, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Denise Sedlak,
I, Denise Sedlak,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United
the
States
Constitution of the United
and the
States
Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity
Welcome.
and integrity.
And I have something for my famed plum collection. Your very own little plum cup. What do you think of that?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you so very much. I'm not letting my ring get anywhere near it, Dr. Walsh.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm out of here. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Right, we're leaving this.
Thank you, Judge Zuko. This time, we'll go ahead and invite citizens' comments on agenda items. Moving on to the agenda then.
Thank you. Okay.
Discussion, Mr. Kolar, Chairperson, Personnel Committee.
The Personnel Committee met in executive session to discuss matters of safety and personnel, and I'd like to just welcome our new Assistant Superintendent. And we've met and talked, and she's got a lot of great plans and a lot of insight, and brings a lot of experience, and really glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kolar. Student Achievement and Activities Committee, Dr. Anderson, Chairperson.
Yep, I think we have 2 grants here from the Springwater Food Services.
We're okay with those grants?
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Moving forward. Letter B.
Any problem with you, Mrs. Bauer, going to the annual PDD data summit for them?
Did she go last year? It's an annual for updates. It's a very valuable conference.
I know what it is.
Yeah, so.
Is that a cost not to exceed? When I was reviewing the application, it seemed like that just might be a cost not to exceed.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Possibly less.
Move B forward then?
Yep.
Okay. There's C.
Dr. Walsh, is anyone gonna speak to this?
The pilot, yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Shulo is here. Everybody's been watching the news in regards to vaping in our schools, and Holiday Park was approached by UPMC about an opportunity to gather a little bit of information and help train our students in regards to the dangers of vaping. Dr. Shulo?
Thank you, Dr. Roche. Good evening, members of the school board and Palm Borough community. We have an awesome opportunity here within the district, not only to participate within a study that we believe would be of benefit to all schools, including Palm Borough, but in addition to our participation, have an opportunity to find some alternative sources of revenue in receiving $1,000 for our participation. For the students' participation in this survey through the UPMC School of Medicine, the individual's name who's conducting the survey is Dr. Chu. And how we came about this is we have worked with a community outreach specialist at UPMC by the name of Susan Radio over the last couple of years, and she has come to Holiday Park to help educate our students about the dangers of alcohol, tobacco, and e-cigarettes. And as we were reviewing our resources and trying to find what we feel would be the best research-based approach to help educate our students, Susan Radio was speaking to one of our teachers, Mr. Bruce Schaefer, and mentioned of this study. And upon mentioning of the study, we had requested some additional information of which we provided to you. And essentially here, the study would take place if we were to participate in this. First and foremost, nobody gets hurt. It's been approved by the LRD board at UPMC. And essentially here, what this study entails is it's anonymous. And our students who would be willing to participate in this study, parents would receive a detailed letter informing them of what this study is and how their students would participate in it. There would be an opportunity for the students, if they so choose, to opt out, of which we would have an alternative plan for them while the study is taking place here at Holiday Park. The study would first begin with a 5 to 8 question survey, like a pre-survey of the students, completely anonymous. We have reviewed the questions and believe they are very appropriate. After the study takes place, UPMC would peer instruct the students over the course of about 3 days of a curriculum called Catch My Breath, which is a research-based curriculum that the UPMC School of Medicine is working with and looking to build up more of a background with in regards to its effectiveness with students. So the students would do the pre-survey. They would go through approximately 3 days of the Catch My Breath curriculum. After the curriculum is implemented, UPMC would then do a post-survey of the students, which again would be about 5 to 8 questions, and that would take place, I believe, on the 5th or 6th day after the implementation of this Catch My Breath curriculum. And once that takes place, UPMC would then have their data. We would receive $1,000 to use towards resources here within the school district, and probably more importantly for the students, they would get a pizza party. So, but we see benefits of this. Myself and Mr. Schaefer have reviewed this, as well as Dr. Walsh. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's a very simple process. They are willing and ready to participate with us. All the information has been front-loaded to us, and it's just a matter of school board approval to move forward and then provide that information to the parents, with students having the opportunity to opt out if they so choose.
So, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
You go right ahead.
Are the surveys electronic, like SurveyMonkey, or is it paper, or how is that done?
They are paper survey.
Okay.
Yeah, there will be paper survey at the school.
Okay. Sorry.
Purpose of the study. I mean, overall, is it to, when I'm looking at what they're doing on the 3 different days, is the purpose hoping that our students come out with a better understanding and better knowledge, and we're hoping that education helps folks to see e-cigarettes differently?
Yeah, Dr. Anderson, it is twofold, exactly. It is to help educate our students, and then per the information that Dr. Chu provided to us, they are conducting the study about this Catch My Breath program. They would like for us to participate in it to see about student opinions regarding e-cigarette and what their knowledge is. So it is twofold in a sense, combined with this Catch My Breath curriculum.
I see that it's 6 different days, 15 minutes apiece approximately. Does UPMC give you any idea when their grand study will be done? I mean, we're just part of it. When will all the data from all the schools be collected? And then will they announce it and give it to you?
I am not sure of that information, but can certainly find it.
Since they're involved in offering a study to us, do they have any other resources that we can use in our school as far as vaping and the dangers of? Do you know?
I don't know any firsthand, but I'm sure that if we do some additional research with them, that we can find this. This is a program that they are looking to, in addition to building up some more effectiveness data with this research, potentially using on a broad spectrum with schools, to my understanding.
To
and
come back
talking
into
with
schools
them.
and help with the vaping.
Yes.
That's why I'd say anytime you have an opportunity to work with UPMC or any outside
Sure.
organization, it opens the door for more partnerships in the future.
Right.
It's just such a big issue, the vaping, and, you know,
Absolutely.
anything they can offer us, this is great. Mr. Schaefer, thank you, thank you.
Yes, thanks for bringing this to us, very
How quick, once
timely.
we approve it, how quick would this start?
Oh, they were ready to come in last week. We were like, whoa, we have to. But we envision this with board approval. We would have this done in November. We would get the information out, make sure that all stakeholders at Holiday Park in sixth grade, that is, the target would be sixth grade here, would be aware of this study with the opportunity to opt out. And then as soon as we received the permission forms back, we would coordinate with UPMC and get them in there to conduct this.
I think this is really a good idea because of the current situation of the vaping thing, but doesn't sixth grade seem to be like a little, I've never seen a sixth grader smoking a cigarette, more or less vaping. I'm surprised UPMC didn't say like ninth grade.
By that time, they've already tried.
Well, we were seeing it here in Plum in sixth grade,
Yeah, we
even
were.
a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So I think this is the age where you wanna catch them.
Yeah,
We had issues,
I would concur with that.
2 years ago in sixth grade.
Yeah, you have middle school kids, you have kids all the way down. I know fourth graders that are.
Kids start younger down there,
Yeah,
used to.
yeah, for sure.
So again, just to ask the same question again, have we reached out to them since we're in conversation with them to say, hey, do you offer anything else to?
Not at this time, we
well,
haven't.
Could you do that maybe?
Absolutely.
Since we have a contact?
Yeah.
Yeah, and to go back to your question about sixth grade, one of the things that we see a benefit here in having fifth, sixth grade under one roof is to use this as a launch pad for things such as this. So we see an opportunity here to capitalize on that for benefits of both students and the school district.
Good job.
I think it's great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Do you feel like it's a, complete curriculum, or do you feel like you and your staff might have to follow up after? I mean, when they're conducting a study, sometimes it's limited in scope in what they're presenting because they're after a certain piece of information. Do you feel like you're gonna need to come full circle on something to make sure we bring closure for students, or does it seem complete?
And Dr. Anderson, yeah, as you saw in there, they're only presenting a limited scope of that. I'm sure we're going to have to probably come back to see its full effectiveness,
Yeah.
but at least from what I saw and what Mr. Schaefer saw, again, we feel very comfortable with it, very relevant, and by no way, shape, or form is this going to violate a student
Yes.
or make students feel uncomfortable, but it's certainly a conversation that has to take place here in educating our students moving forward.
Dr. Anderson, I would just, to come around full circle with that question, as you're aware, last year, our school police and our school counselors have been working together, and at the 7, 8, and at the high school, they addressed the concerns with vaping. They had that contest. They were disseminating information, and I agree with Dr. Shula and Dr. Highland that talking to our 5th and 6th graders, because looking at what is on television, they're talking about middle schoolers and high school, and building that capacity and having a better understanding is going to be valuable for our students going forward.
I just wonder if maybe we should do something maybe in the spring, if we're gonna,
Yeah.
if we're willing to talk about it and educate on it.
Our school counselors in our
Yeah.
place, we're building those lessons out, and we've been having those conversations since the beginning of school.
Have we been catching students vaping? Has the policy, like, with helping them once we catch them, has it been working? Do you think it's adequate?
I think it has.
What I would say is, I think this board needs to take a little bit of a victory lap. We were a year ahead of everybody else. We passed this in November of 2018, and so this board was out front on this and led on this, and now everything's in the news, and we are fully prepared. Part of that policy had a little bit more of a stick to it, but we also have to add the educational part of that process as well. The vaping, the Officer Horwath going into classrooms and being proactive policing, but we also have to educate our students So I think we're attacking it from every single level. In terms of the numbers, I would have to defer to the principals on that one. Lady, gentlemen, we seeing up, down, what are we saying? Zero?
Zero so far.
Zero at Cape
We're-
Fear?
And we're definitely down this year, but it's changed. You know, three years ago, you could walk into any bathroom and you would find 3 or 4 kids standing around, passing around a Juul. At our level, and I think this speaks to this program tremendously, at the high school level, we have kids who are stone cold addicted. They can't do without it, and they go in, they shut the stall door, they're very discreet. We're trying to help these kids now who find themselves addicted. So I think the program that they're bringing into the 6th grade is more than appropriate. With our new policy, we've definitely seen less, because I think the kids know that there's a much greater chance that they'll get caught.
And let's be honest too, the media attention for those people that are passing away, is,
Yeah.
I think it's probably the best thing that's happening. The kids watch, they see that it's harmful. They see kids that are their own age in hospital beds. I think that's the best advertisement that you can have.
Ventilators. Is it, do you think they'll give us the information that they're asking of the kids, the actual data, like the questions? I'm just curious of what they ask and what
Oh,
they're
the
targeting.
questions?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
like to see it.
absolutely. We can get those to you, yeah. And, I'm sure like when the study is complete, that they'll provide the results, to us.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to see that.
A reference point for you, you might wanna reach out to the CDC also on vaping. They're really getting involved with how dangerous this is and the need. So I don't know if you need more education when she was saying that. I mean, I know UPMC and AHN will, but CDC has a lot of information on the website if you need anything to pull down from it. Hey, not that you don't know that, but
No,
you know,
thank you. Thank you for the
I just know it's
information.
something that we use at work, so.
Yeah, sir, thank you for the
You're welcome,
information.
you're welcome.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, great job.
Thank you. We're all okay with C?
Yeah.
Letter D.
Service update?
On November 4th and November 5th are scheduled discretionary days, in-service days. As you're aware, November 4th is typically an in-service day, and November 5th, there's a bit of a twist at the high school, and we'll talk about that in a moment. On November 4th, our Air Force JROTC are going to be doing some site visits to North Allegheny and to Pine Richland to look at other programs that are out there and activities, learning activities that are happening in those districts. And so is our phys ed is planning a site visit in the morning to Fox Chapel, and they're going to work on some curriculum mapping on that day. But for most of the elementary teachers, we're going to continue that journey with M-Class. As you're aware, we implemented M-Class. M-Class letters, our Home Connect letters went home yesterday, and it's the first time that parents have received reports in reading in regards to how their children are doing. So those were deployed yesterday. Our teachers in the classroom not only are going to be trained on looking at the student data of the students in their room, but they're also going to have access to Tier 1 interventions on how to support and enrich the students in their classroom. So the morning will be geared for elementary teachers and special education teachers to really building out the resources that are available for them in the classroom. The afternoon for elementary will focus on technology training and looking at the specific grade levels and departments and really honing in on building capacity in those areas.
And the high school in the morning will be doing technology, and so Google in your classroom, the new paperless solution, some Chromebook 101, so that teachers really can maximize the wonderful tools and resources that you so generously have provided to our students. And then some collaborative tech breakout groups that they'll be able to really learn from each other and share ideas. In the afternoon, we'll be taking a deep dive into data presentations and really looking at the data, how it aligns to the standards and how it aligns to our instructional practices. What are our learning goals to make sure that we're utilizing the data to inform instruction, to inform what our students may have strengths in, identifying those gaps and overlaps in our curriculum so that we can best prepare our students to be exceptionally prepared for success.
Our certified nurses, our staff nurses, and our school police on this day will focus on diabetes training, looking at level 2 training for all of our school police and our nurses. And Brian Maloney, the director of Plum EMS, is coming in to offer support in the training of diabetes, but also Narcan. In the afternoon, our school police will be focusing on de-escalation, verbal de-escalation training. And that was part of the training that the board agreed upon when all the officers were hired.
And our guidance counselors will be working with the Chapter 339 plan, and although I'm very new to the district, I'd really like to commend Dr. Walsh and Dr. Highland and the Chapter 339 team, because Michael Thompson from PDE was in working with the team today, and they're using Plum's 339 plan as their model in the Commonwealth. And so the work that has been established, as Dr. Highland said, Plum is out ahead of so many other school districts. Plum is out ahead in Chapter 339, utilizing templates that the state is just rolling out. And the work that that team has done over the last year and a half is just remarkable. I had the opportunity to sit down and work with Ms. Bosa as she shared that information, and Dr. Highland has shared with me, coming from other districts and seeing a lot of other Chapter 339 plans. I'm so proud to be a part of this district because of the work that's being done for our students. It ties into the governor's focus, the Secretary of Education, and Allegheny County Partner for Work for really preparing our students for college and career readiness. And you have a great team here, and they've done phenomenal work.
Awesome, thank you.
On November 5th, with the parent-teacher conferences that will be occurring in kindergarten through 8th grade, the high school will be really looking at two different components. Dr. Reiner Hershey will be sharing with the high school staff information on special education, specifically as it pertains to 504s, IEPs, specially designed instruction, and what the teacher's responsibility is, because it's everyone's responsibility to meet the needs of our students that have special needs, whether it be from a medical standpoint or from an intellectual standpoint, or just that behavioral support. We also really want to focus in on some diversity training. And I think the best way to approach that is to look at implicit bias. And if you look at implicit bias, it's owning the fact that we all have biases within ourselves, and acknowledging that and recognizing it so that we know how we interact with others. I've reached out to Dr. Azzy Block, if I could say her whole name, it's Azada Saladin Block. She's a professor at the California University of Pennsylvania. She does a phenomenal presentation on cultural humility, challenging the assumptions for lifelong learning. And so we're hoping to be able to bring her in, that her schedule will work with ours. If she's not available, we have some other contacts at the University of Pittsburgh that really focus on cultural diversity and understanding bias. And so that's what Mr. Fischel and his team and Dr. Hershey and I have planned for the afternoon of November 5th for the high school staff. And the conferences then will be in the evening. We've really looked at the numbers of parents that have requested conferences. We'll be having the high school staff reach out and pick up the phone and make some phone calls to invite parents in. We don't want to be passive, we want to be proactive, and I think that if we can involve the students and the parents together, it really builds that support network of all of us working together for the same end result of our students.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you. Dr. Anderson, anything else? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Safe and Supportive School Committee, Mrs. Rossler, Chairperson.
Mr. Walsh?
I'm sorry?
A.
You mean you don't have any words on safety?
Well, I have a lot of work on this. The PCCD grant, as you're aware, I'm sorry, as you're aware, we're in the process of applying, for that money. Part A, is guaranteed, and based on the size of our district, we're guaranteed $40,000. And we've been working with the superintendent's cabinet in defining what our needs are. And we're also eligible up to $450,000 in Part B. We're working with facilities, technology, the administrative team, superintendent's cabinet to define what our enhancements, and we're in the process of applying for that grant. Okay.
When will you know?
The application is due November 4th. The Part A, we should receive approval in December, if it's on the same timeline as last year, and Part B is the end of April, sometimes early May.
Good job reaching out to our local legislators.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Letter B.
Did you say Part B?
Letter B.
Rick, you wanna do
Yeah.
letter B?
Part B, and I've talked already a little bit about that, is our professional development that we're having for the police. We've been, Mr. Hanna has been meeting with our first responders on a quarterly basis. We're still meeting monthly with Plum EMS. They've been, valuable partners. We have also, invited our Plum Police to come in whenever we conduct drills. And as I shared earlier, our officers are gonna be trained in verbal de-escalation, Narcan, and diabetes. Okay.
That's all?
Great, thank you.
Can I ask a question on that? I actually just sent an email, I'm sorry. Do you have, I just had an email in reference to that, do we have, do the schools and the nursing staff have supplies in case of a diabetic emergency or an anaphylactic emergency?
We do.
Like if.
We have
if
a
I don't
standing
have
doctor
an-
order
Okay.
that we have, rescue medication available.
Okay, so like an EpiPen or something, if you don't have it, we do, okay.
Yeah.
I just curious, thanks.
And I apologize, my agenda bounced off my screen there for a moment.
Welcome back,
Good
Dr.
job.
Wallace.
All right. Ms. Rosser, anything else?
No, that's all.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Schlock, chairperson.
Yes, first off, the revenues, I guess we were 828,000 higher than the previous year, right, John?
Yes.
Which is a really, really good thing, so it was a good year.
We had a better year with revenues. I wanted to show you that. If you have any specific questions, I try to do this in summary form so that we don't get into every single line item in here.
Yeah.
You wanna look at trends though? Trends are, we performed very well in, local real estate revenue collection. About $1.6 million better than the prior year and $300,000 better than we budgeted. We performed better on interest-bearing accounts, so the interest rates in the market have gone up. We've done some things to drive that revenue. We did $200,000 better than we budgeted for there. Other things I just wanna highlight is access funds. We didn't draw any, so you'll see that, because of our performance was good, we didn't need that, which is good for us, because that leaves that money in that pot. So we did decide to not draw that down, as you know. And these are not final numbers, but they're pretty close to final enough that I can show you them. And on the revenue side, we performed about $1.1 million better than we budgeted for, primarily due to the local real estate and the interest on our investments. Last year, we shifted our easier approach where the auditors allowed us to charge July and August. That portion that was booked as expense, we're also able to book the revenue, so that helped as well to another tune of $300,000. So good year revenue-wise. Flipping into the expenditure side, I give you 3 different reports just so you can see at a high level where we performed against our budget. And primarily, you'll see that instructional staff costs have gone down. That was primarily due to, the closing of Regency. Other things, the debt service went up this year, but it's normal now. That's what our normal payment's gonna be, pretty close to that.
Yeah.
If you recall, last year we reduced our debt service by $3 million. That's, our debt service is in there and it's reflected. Primarily, the biggest thing we did on the expense side to reduce costs were, this, you know, depending on your perspective, this may or may not be a good thing, but our substitute costs came in significantly under budget. We planned for, you know, 100% coverage, and we didn't have that. So financially, that helped us. Also, we planned to have teachers that were at the higher rate come back in, and so we budgeted for that. That didn't happen. They chose not to come back on those days as subs. And unemployment cost was another major factor that contributed to us under expending our budget. So the two combined have led to the district having a surplus for this year, for the 18-19 school year. It's going to be around between $700,000 and $750,000. So that's the first legitimate time that we've had a surplus since the 08-09 school year without use of any fund borrowing or capital projects. So we're clearly heading in the right direction. I, though, however, don't want to give you too much good information because we performed this year. I still just want to say that, you know, the things that happened in the past, we're still recovering from, right? I mean, so if you take away the borrowed money that occurred over the past collection of years, you know, our fund balance would still be a negative because we've only had 1 year in the past 10 years that we've had a surplus. So we're still chipping away at that. We're still trying to rebuild that. And I don't want to dwell on that, but at the same time, I do want to take time to note that, you know, on the screen there, that, you know, this is legitimate surplus. There's no borrowed money that's in this 18-19 fiscal year. And, you know, the intention is to move that forward well beyond this year and see that green from every point from this year on. So
John, when's the last time there's been a balanced budget?
they've always been balanced on paper, but the reality of when they came in was totally two different things.
10 years?
It was the 07-08 school year was the last time without any sort of borrowed funds that it was borrowed. I mean, it was actually truly balanced. Because we borrowed it, I mean, we balanced our budgets in prior years, but it was with.
Whether that's taken out of a fund or something in order to balance it.
Exactly.
This is the first year it hasn't been, right?
Exactly.
So when the auditor's report came back, it wasn't balanced. When the auditor's report came back, the numbers that match, it wasn't balanced over the years.
Well, it is balanced, but it's not balanced without some sort of, either pulling it from another fund or borrowing it, but, yeah, this.
Also, the previous business manager was always overestimating revenues, which made it, at the end, made it look really bad, yeah.
Yeah, so we take more of a conservative approach. We always expect to make changes throughout the course of the year. We plan for what could happen, but we expect to be able to tweak everything throughout the course of the year. But we always take a more of a conservative approach. That way, you know, so just give you an example, if someone leaves and there's a replacement cost, we plan to pay their benefits at the full cost unless there's situations where we know they're not gonna be. And if they come in less, then it's to our benefit. Or we plan for having substitutes coming in and filling those. That's the expectation. If it doesn't happen, you know, that's gonna save the district some funds on that end too. But that's not necessarily what we want. So we plan for what we want. So we had a good fiscal year. The auditors will be here at the next board meeting to discuss our finances. We asked them to come in and give a preliminary outlay, just because we want to give you information timely. And so they'll probably make two presentations to you, one at the next board meeting and one after we close the books. But I think one thing that they're going to mention at the next board meeting is how clean of a year we had this year. And on top of that, you know, there's remarks about the district having little transparency. Well, our auditor made comment that this is the most transparent district that he audits, and that's Mayor Dussel, so they're not doing 1 or 2 schools, they're doing 30, 40 school audits, and they said that. So I thought that was something.
So financially transparent.
Financially transparent, the most transparent.
Most transparent district they've audited, so, right.
Yes.
That's good news.
And that segues into us becoming even more transparent. I wanted to revitalize our website a little bit and the business office page. I wanted to be even more transparent, so if you have a moment to look at that.
John, I'm gonna interrupt you. I think it's worth actually showing the board.
Okay.
So, who's driving right now? Jen, can you go to the website, pbsd.net? Go to departments. Go down to finance. Financial documents. We'll get to some positive things in a hurry. You know what, John, go ahead, you do it. I was just so proud of the work that you did on this. I was,
Agreed, wow.
when you see the documentation that's up there, you know, we hear a lot that, you know, about transparency. If people actually go to our website and look at the amount of documents that are on there, not only do we put our monthly bills, but we put invoices up there. So we put about as much as you can possibly put, in terms of transparency. What's nice is that it's being validated by Mayor Dussel. People from outside the district are coming in and saying that we're the most transparent district that they have seen. So, don't take our word for it, take Mayor Dussel. I think they have a pretty good reputation, so. But, John, take a victory lap on this, because there's some really
Absolutely.
neat things on this.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. There's pretty cool information on here. So part of this is it makes my life a little bit easier when I can just refer someone to a website, you know, as opposed to me trying to find out where in my head, I put it on my computer. I just say, here's where it's at on our website. So one of the things that the state looks at, and this is part due to, you know, preparation for the state when they come in. We want to be prepared for that audit. We want, of course, for there to be no findings, but we also want them to, you know, the past couple audits have not been overly good from the state to us. So what I want them to say is when they come in this time, they, you know, when Eugene D. Pasquale comes in and says, this is one of the most transparent school districts I see. So it's not just to be normal, but it's to sort of set the bar, you know, that's the intent. So what we did, you know, a lot of times the state auditors have said, you have a long-term plan. You know, you go into our long-term document screen, and we're on our 12th iteration of that long-term financial plan. So we've got 12 different versions of this, and it's adjusted throughout the course of history since we started this journey together. So it's, and you'll see from that very first one, it was a negative $28 million fund balance 5 years from now, to the point now where we, you know, we've still got some things to do, but it's much more stable and it's much more in a much better spot. So when the state comes in, they say, do you have a long-term plan? We say, no, we have 12 of them, and we update them frequently. So they'll get to see that. Another thing that one of the state priorities is not to just have good processes and practices in place, but it's also, do you have those things written down? Like if something were to happen to you as the business manager, what is the protocols for when you leave? Or not when you leave, if I get run over, you know, how do you pick up and take that? And not only that, but to build internal processes for everything we do, we lay that out in there. So when the state asks, do we have a plan, we direct them right to the webpage. And then we also do something that I think is pretty neat, is we do comparable financial documents on here. And we look at revenue across the county, and we break it down by different functions and objects and sources of revenue. We do that with the expenditures too. That way we can, as Rick would say, take a deep dive into our data to find out where we're performing well and where we're not performing so well. And also to get some trends. You know, we want to see where our history is. We want to see where we know we're spending our money. And you know, I want to say something. When we start taking that dive, you'll see that our instructional costs on a percentage of our overall expenditure is, for regular instruction, it's #1 in the county. So when people, again, the idea that our money's not going into instruction, the data proves that that's wrong. You know, and so a lot of that information can be seen on here, and now it's on our website. So it's not just me telling the story, I'm creating capacity for other people to tell that story.
Hey, John, when I can't do it without having a Google Drive, what would happen if somebody without a Google Drive would click on this? What's it look like to them?
Same thing, they get access.
It just goes into a Google
Just
Drive?
like just like the related documents, they can open it up as a PDF.
But I mean, do they see a Google Drive?
They
What
see
is
the
it?
PDF.
They just see a listing of the
Yep, yep.
Okay.
So to reiterate, we're number one in the county on dollars spent per student.
John, just pull up the graph.
Amazing.
Yeah, if you go in, Jen, to comparable financial documents, I can go in here too, so I can navigate. Just go and get expenditure.
Expenditure, John?
Okay, expenditure comparisons. Okay, you're gonna go into instructional regular programs by percentage.
Just spread your fingers and it should get bigger. There you go.
Oh, go up.
It's amazing.
We're ahead of Mount Lebanon.
Wow.
56.35% of our dollars are going to regular instruction.
Thank you.
That's the highest in the county. That means we're lean in other places, obviously.
Obviously.
All right, I'm gonna let him take a victory lap on this one, another one. Ready? Hold on.
Let's do
All right,
it.
here it comes.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's go.
Show- John, show them the graph that you won the show.
Let's go to support finance.
So, in all honesty, if you take a look at this graph,
It tells you.
we have the leanest business office in the AIU.
Keep scrolling down.
Look at it.
Keep on scrolling down.
We're definitely behind what we
Plumboro is at the very bottom.
Oh, here, Marilyn.
There's someone.
Yeah. So we're lean. We're a lean, mean machine.
So, congratulations, Sean, good work.
Good job. Thanks, man. Okay, budget timeline. We're closing out 1 year, we're operating on another one, we're planning for the third year. So this is sort of a fun time to be a business again. This year's we're gonna have to ramp up our timeline this year because of the presidential election. It bumps everything up about a month. So we're going to have our first budget presentation to you by December so that you can make an informed decision on which direction we're gonna head in January. So we have to have a preliminary budget or opt-out, one or the other, decided pretty early in January. So we either go up to the index and exemptions, or we decide not to do that and we opt out of that. Either way, we'll have a budget prepared and we'll have something to you, so that you can compare the different options. But we'll probably plan to do that in December. So everything's gonna be ramped up about a month ahead of.
So as the new board gets on,
It's pretty much welcome new board, by the way,
Yeah.
you have to decide how we're gonna spend our money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is, it's gonna be a fast turn. All the other timetables, all the other timelines will remain the same, other than that preliminary budget. You know, by the end of May, we have to have a proposed final budget, by the end of June, we have to have a final budget. There's a lot of steps along the way, we'll walk you through that, we'll walk our, the new members of the board along with that. And make sure that the process is explained well, and so make sure that we're clearly communicating that to all of you. But yeah, it's right around the corner, so right now, I'm starting to plan out the salary budgets for next year based on the contracts that we know, and also plan out the revenue budgets based on, what our historical revenues have been, so that's right
Everything's
around
gonna
the
be
corner.
rough guess, rough estimate.
Let me see.
GOBs, we're starting to spend money, you'll see that,
Fund 35.
Fund 35.
It's draining now.
We wanna spend it. So John has been, taking some of the concepts of what we proposed, with the capital project plan, and he's finding ways to do this in a very cost-efficient manner. And he's looking for ways to be able to reduce the cost, lighting, he's been doing lots of lighting across the district. He'll have that opportunity to speak to you, but, so that's what you're gonna see in
service bills.
Regular bills for the month of.
Yeah. Letter E.
I wanted to, get that on the agenda, we discussed this, wanted to, get that, check request out to them. I need to get your approval in order to do that. We looked to see if we needed your approval. It doesn't, our current contract doesn't necessarily give us the authority, it doesn't say we don't have, so it's just safer to have you guys give me the authority to write them a check so that they can go after some of these very delinquent taxes. And, the next two reports, show on that foreclosure report, that's some, like, you'll see some alarming things in there. There's some people in there that haven't paid their taxes in 15
Amazing.
years.
Yeah,
There's
crazy.
years. Yeah. So we need to be aggressive, you know, and sometimes we'll get comments from the public about, I'll hear comments from time to time. I'll get phone calls about the bedside manner sometimes of Weisberg or Kramer, and sometimes it's a little, you know, they're a little direct with people, but I think that they do it in a way that's professional. But really, it's the expectation that you pay your taxes, you know what I mean? And if you don't, sometimes you get letters that aren't necessarily the most pleasant.
Remember like yesterday, John, we got a call, I called you. Oh my gosh, yeah.
So, I mean, that,
Oh, I agree, and this firm has been successful for us. We've had better success than we did in recent times.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And it has to be fair. Everyone works hard and everyone, for the most part, pays their taxes, but it has to be fair across the board, so I'm fine with all this. Thanks for the update.
John, a couple quick questions. On the far right column where it says foreclosure, is that we're actually foreclosing on properties and we are gonna gain title to those?
their sheriff sales is what's gonna happen with them. Try to get the tax dollars first off, and the mortgage company's gonna try to, we have the first right to the money, us, the borough, and the county. Then after that, then it'll go against potentially the mortgage company or any other debtors, but
Sub-question, on those foreclosure properties, do we know if there are structures or is this just a laying piece of property of weeds?
both.
Both.
Both. Primarily, they have structures on them, though.
Okay.
Most of them go on that report. There's some that are just the land, though.
Yeah, well, that was my point, because in the next report, item, two other delinquent reports, we have tax value $4, and it's called uncollectible, and I'm thinking, what are these? I know what they are, but for everybody else, what are these, and why do we even bother?
They don't.
I mean, why do we even bother listing them as uncollectible?
A lot of times they list them as uncollectible just because they have to keep a record of that as it being unpaid, even though they've written that off.
This is a little piece of corner of somebody's property that got abandoned and stuff.
Sometimes it's even a fee from a prior tax collector that they can't document why they charge them that fee, so they'll just waive it.
Oh, I
Or they don't necessarily waive it, but they won't actively pursue the collection of that. A lot of times it's fees, you'll see fees in there, you know.
Fees, interest, penalties. Okay. Good enough, thanks, John.
And so they've paid the debt, but they haven't necessarily paid the fee that was
Fees
attached
to
to
like
it.
Anderson Price, so whenever they took the record over, a lot of times if it wasn't clear to them,
Right,
they
they
leaned to
forgave
the
it.
side of not.
But for their records to be straight, they have to keep it listed.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Letter F?
The last thing on here is the electric prices. Our contract is expiring at the end of December. Our current price is .05147. The new prices are gonna be lower than that, which is gonna save us some money. Our kilowatt hours, we have about 700,000, so that doesn't seem like fractions of a penny matter, but they do. So right now, the lowest price that I got is from Freepoint Energy, and that's .03773 cents. It's locking in for 36 months. Right now, I don't feel comfortable enough to make a recommendation to you. I have to reach out to a couple other companies to find out how long we should lock in for. The last time we locked in at a longer term, and we probably could have locked in for a smaller term without a little bit of cost reduction. So I just want to get a little bit more perspective on that. But I do want to let you know, we don't have to make a decision on this in October,
Right.
but we probably would have to do something in November, and you have to give me the authority to negotiate prices, something similar to what we did the last time with this contract came.
So we can push this off till next month then?
Can.
Yeah.
We don't need to give you that authority now,
It would be helpful with the next board meeting to give me the authority and then
in the
let
voting
me
meeting in October.
negotiate it and then give you the break in November.
I mean, the voting meeting in October, next,
Yeah.
So
okay.
that's, I'm fine with putting that on there as a, action item for October.
Okay.
Yeah. Anything else to add?
No?
That's it? Yeah.
Thanks, John.
Good
Thanks.
job.
Thank you.
All good news.
Mr. Salk, anything else?
No, I think it's, status quo, things are looking good.
Great, thank you. Next, Facilities and Operations Committee, Mr. Zuko, chairperson.
As far as I can see, there's the final contract drawn up by our solicitor, and I believe it's 33 pages long. And right now, you can see the highlights of what was changed in yellow, I believe. And the other thing I noticed though is that this, even though it's this final draft, all the specific numbers are blank. So I guess this is to say that, we've looked at all the wording and we've come up with that, but I haven't seen any figures placed in here yet, so I'm assuming that that's going to be in there before we would have to give it any consideration.
Yeah, Mr. Zuko, right now, this is just the basic wording. I actually talked to council for Constellation yesterday, so they still have to get us the exact numbers. And there's just a few minor items that John and I are still talking to them about, but you should consider this about 99% of the wording, just a few little things.
That's what I kind of thought, so I noticed a lot of yellow, and I thought, boy, you guys really went through this with a fine tooth comb. And then I got down to the actual figures, and the charts, and there was nothing there, so I went, okay, this was just wording. Because I know we've covered the figures before, but they always seem to change every month that we saw there were new figures, so I was waiting for that, okay.
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 Letter B.
CS&E agreement, is for combustion services. I'm trying to, John, what is a combustion services? I know it's part of heating, ventilation, air conditioning, is this, what?
They are.
Orders, order maintenance?
I'm gonna try it. You want me to try it?
Go ahead, try it.
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it.
Let him get to the, you've talked enough, let him get to it.
CS&E is building automation. They're the ones who have the automation for our buildings, for all the HVAC, lighting into the buildings. Their systems basically control our buildings. So that's what that's for.
What a deceiving title, combustion service.
They started out as a different company and turned into the company they are today.
Well, I noticed the contract is the same as last year as far as dollar wise, which is always nice. Have you had any problems with them? Are you satisfied with?
I'm
so we
satisfied
should
with
go
combustion
forward with
service.
this?
I mean, it isn't a practical idea to make a change. It would be so costly that it wouldn't be worth even looking at.
Okay.
Good.
Good enough.
Good, thank you.
And I think moving back forward, everybody?
Yes?
Now we're gonna go through a few of the projects that we've started since I came on board in July, and we've been working on.
I'm gonna start you off here.
Go ahead.
There has been an awful lot of work that has been done in this district, on facilities. One that a lot of people won't see, but we talked about is the retrofitting of the stadium. We took what could have been, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and, we got that retrofit done for significantly less than that. It took a little bit of time to do that, but, based on John's, ability to go out and find something that's, number one, safe for our kids, but number two, was very, very cost effective, saved the district hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, hats off to John on that. Additionally, there's been a lot of things that are going on as we go through those contracts with Constellation. He is, price checking everything, and when I say everything, it's everything, and he's doing a very good job of it. Tonight, he's gonna show you, some pictures of places, work that, his department has been responsible for. this, I told him to take before and after pictures. We got the after pictures, the before pictures, we're working on, we're gonna get, but I think before he goes into this, I don't know if the pictures are gonna do justice for the amount of work that he has done, but more importantly, the customer service that he has provided to the employees in this district to provide a good environment for kids has been fantastic. So, I teed it up for you, John. Hit it out
Thank
of
you.
the park.
And you had good photography here. These
I don't know
pictures
about
show
that.
really well.
Okay, first we'll start at Center Elementary. This is our playground. When we came on board, the playground had about 1.5 inches of mulch on it. The standard is 7 inches. So one of the things we did there at the playground is we brought all the mulch back up to the 7-inch level. Wanted to keep the kids safe. We had all the equipment cleaned before the start of the school year, and something, a project we're actually starting at the end of this week, is over here by the playground, we have no handicap accessibility to the playground at all. There'll be a handicap ramp put in, all the high railroad ties will be cut away, and concrete will be laid so that there'll be complete handicap accessibility to the playground. Next one. This is Center's gym. I don't know if anyone's ever been in Center's gym, but it was dreary and dark and like a dungeon. We went in there. This is a picture of the lighting. We put LED lighting throughout the gym. It's now daylight in there. Through the summer, we also painted the gym, which I think the next picture shows a closer west cafeteria. But we painted the gym, the cafeteria, in many of the classrooms in that school, along with the hallways, the registers. We got about 90% of the school painted during the summertime before the kids came back to school. And it really looks nice in there. You can go to the next slide. There's the walls that we did for the painting of the walls in the gym, all the way up hallways. This is actually the kitchen and center. We had cleaned those ceiling tiles so much, and hats off to the guys that do this. They actually took the coating off the ceiling tiles. So this summer we replaced all the ceiling tiles in the kitchen to bring it back up. Obviously the coat, because the coatings were all gone. And for appearance, it's now white and bright and the way it should be now. Excuse me, here at the high school. This is security vestibule. You know, everyone's kind of toured it and seen what it is. It's all the security glasses in place. The rest of the structure will be delivered tomorrow, I believe, and installed by the end of the week. So the full enclosure will be done, and then the electronics will be starting to be installed. So hopefully by the next meeting next month, we'll have everything in place and we'll be up and running. That's the outside picture. As you can see, we did some concrete there, and that concrete runs all the way across the front where the doors were dragging and it wouldn't open, and we had that all taken out and redone. You can go on to the next one. There are other areas at the high school. You can see the rest of the front, the area over to the side. And this is the courtyard. When I came on board, the courtyard was jungle. I don't know who's seen it, who hasn't. I wish I had before pictures. We had the whole courtyard cleaned and remulched. Excuse me. Next year, we're going to have the inside walls taken care of. And we're also, this year, I'm working with a company to have all the uneven pieces of concrete leveled. It's a company that wants our business, and they actually do the foam into the sidewalk. They drill a hole and lift them up and put them back into place. We're going to kind of get a demo at a low cost to see how it works for the whole district, but we're going to use it in the courtyard because that's our biggest need at this moment.
It's also one of the things that the kids had pointed out. Went into an AP psychology class just to talk about branding and talking about the signs that we were putting up in the school. And we asked them what other places do we need to look at from their perspective, from the students' perspective. And one of the things that they came up with was they loved that the courtyard was done, but they felt that there were some uneven concrete pads. And so within the next couple days, Mr. Walsh went up to the classroom and talked with those kids, and the look on their face that the director of facilities came up and wanted to hear what they had to say about the place. And he's acting on what the kids thought was important to be done. So just a little backstory on why that concrete is being attacked.
Okay, these are the two signs that everyone has seen on the building. Now we actually have lights located, you guys can't see, on this part of the roof for this one here with a dusted on sensor. And the light here is up actually now at the guardrail. We're going to move that to refocus the beams to make it tighter just on the section. We have to trench the yard, so we're moving the light around for a couple nights at a time to make sure we get the good, the good spot where we want it, and then we'll trench the yard and do the final power. That's actually running off an extension cord now. It pulls 1 amp, those lights. Each light pulls 1 amp, compared to the old lights that pulled 7 or 8 amps. I mean, the savings with electricity is significant. Okay, you can click to the next one.
If you get a chance tonight, when you leave, right out there, when you see it, it looks really nice.
And there's still one more light that needs to go on there. We're still waiting for it to be delivered. It was back ordered. We have 2 to 3 on there. So we're still waiting for that one to come in. These are a few things at the high school. If those of you remember, the ticket booth was all green. Well, it was green when I got here. We had that pressure washed along with the tennis courts. All the mold and the black was taken off the tennis courts. The bathrooms in the stadium, only 1 sink in each section worked. We've had them all revamped, every sink, every commode, every urinal, and every piece of that complex now works. So that's all been taken care of. And in the high school, just to let you know, we're down to 2 bathrooms we need to complete, and every faucet in this whole district, in this whole building will work. Actually, the whole district, we've got them done. You can go to the next one. This is the bleachers. This is kind of a picture. Everybody knows about the paint on the fence. I take full responsibility for that.
Looking at the camera.
Yeah, it's all me. But actually what happened is we picked such a good paint that actually was adhering to the metal that when it puddled along the rails that run laterally along the back, it hardened the bubble over it, but the paint inside stayed liquid. So when people went up and leaned against the fence, it broke the bubbles open, and that's how they got paint on them. So that's all been wiped down and cleaned
I told my
up.
daughter it was real silver, she was totally fine.
Yeah, there really weren't that many complaints. I think we had 3 people we paid for some shirts for. But it was, all in all, it looks 1,000% better than the rusted fence that was there. Bleachers were all pressure cleaned, first time in their life. They were black when I came on board, and we had them all pressure cleaned all the way around the stadium, so they're all clean. And then the retrofit. We put 6,000 pieces of metal under there, pieces of aluminum under them bleachers. We used an adhesive that actually welded the braces to the metal. Then we drilled holes through the sections and adhered them with 4 screws per section, stainless steel screws, so that everything moves in uniform. Okay, you're still gonna have movement in the bleachers, but it's not this anymore. Okay, and that's what we wanted to prevent through the structural engineer's report. So the bleachers are completely finished and they're all done. So this is the student parking lot. This is, the student parking lot was full of potholes and dirt and things that just weren't really nice. So we had that whole parking lot dug out. We had new stone brought in and we restoned the whole parking lot down there. Holiday Park. You didn't show my goalpost, that must not have made the thing.
Yeah, there's an there. We have to back up.
We did paint the goalpost, by the way, just so everybody knows. Okay, this is Holiday Park. This is in the drainage area in the back of the parking lot. That was all collapsed. The asphalt was actually starting to drop and being undermined. We had it all refilled, three sizes of rock to keep everything stable. The final gravel at the top, and we changed the parking spaces from straight in to long ways to help keep the longevity of that parking lot. These are the steps and the handicap ramp that were added to Holiday Park. This gives us complete access from the buses in the bus lot for handicapped students to come over and have the ramp to come down to the Holiday Park Elementary. We added a section here to make it more direct for the kids coming over, and you see the handicap pads here for the people who need that for their canes, for the sight impaired, I guess it is. And we put the blue crosswalk in so it's very visible. The other one is the campus from the very end of the parking lot with the new LED lighting. So we replaced all the LED lighting in the Holiday Park O-Block campus. That is completely done, and all the building lights, except for I believe 3 that we're still waiting on, have been changed.
Hey, John, while you have that picture there, I just.
Okay, back up.
Well, it's okay. It's really just the parking lot. But my son was on crutches this week, so I had to, or last week, so I had to drive him and do the It was impeccably run, very well done, and officers who were excited with their whistles in their mouth and the different pedestrian walkways. I mean, it was, the drop-off and pickup was really well done. I was nervous to come, like, oh gosh, there's gonna be arrows, what am I gonna do? But the directions and everybody kind of The adults who were running the show was a well-built machine.
I have to give the credit to Mr. Hannon and Dr.
Yeah.
Walsh, because they had that long before
It was good.
I came on board.
That
One thing we're
flow
gonna
is
do is we're gonna
decades
put some more
overdue.
bollards in to help block off the student areas where we may have chains that go across. I mean, the cones and the horses are nice for now, but if someone really wants to get through, they're going to. So we're also looking at that option, you know, to make it more safe. Okay, we can go to the next one. This is O Block. This is the O Block gym. It has all new lights, both, the regular gym lights and the security lights that go in there. The walls have been completely painted floor to ceiling. It's like night and day. It looks completely different. Next year, we're gonna schedule and get pricing on doing the floor. That's the last piece we're gonna do to there. This is the office. We painted the office space, the hallway spaces. I believe we did 22 classrooms, we painted this year. We did stairwells. We painted just about the whole school. I have one little area that I need to get this summer where we just ran out of time. But as you can flip through them, you can see that we've painted the cafeteria and the gym. We have acoustical panels that go on the walls. We were waiting on the material for them. I ordered material that was extra wide because it was less yardage, waste yardage that we were gonna use. We could do 2 panels off of each section. They are actually being wrapped this week, so hopefully by the end of the week, we start putting them all back up. So they're all done. This is the auditorium. Those of you that were in there will know that 90% of those lights that you see in the middle were out.
Yes.
Okay, and these lights up on the perimeter that you see up here, which is really nice effect when it's, you know, when you have people in there. No one here can remember them working.
Never.
So every light has been changed, everything is LED and everything is
Wonderful.
ready to go.
Beautiful.
And these are more parking lots outside. This is actually behind the school at O Block. That dark alley that we keep chained off back there, that's what it looks like now with the new LED lighting.
Great.
At Pivot, there wasn't a whole lot that we had to do because that school is still pretty new. We did remulch the playground. And not only there, but every school, we cleaned up every flower bed and every spot in the school district to make it presentable for a day of school, and now we're keeping it that way throughout school. And then the bus garage. The bus garage had basically old fluorescent lights. You can still see them running down the centers. We retrofitted it with LED lights. From what I'm being told by Scott and the mechanics, it's never been so bright in there. It's more of a better safe work environment for them. So that part's already been retrofitted to LED lighting. I think that's it. That's it.
Awesome.
Great job.
Good
Great
job.
Great job.
Very busy summer.
Good
Thank
job,
you
John.
and your
Very
staff.
busy summer.
You did a great job.
Just so the board knows, we've invited the custodial staff to the board meeting on the 22nd, just to say thank you for all the hard work that they've put in, custodial and maintenance staff.
I can never remember that many schools being done. Alone, that's just a small piece of everything that's been done here.
Good job with
But
everything.
that much painting in one
Pieces
summer.
what's being done. What we're starting this week is, the lights are here in the building for the parking lot here at the high school. They will be next. I'm having sample lights brought in for the auditorium here, to check their brightness, make sure we're getting everything we need to do with them, because they're LEDs, and make sure they're dimmable. I should have them by the end of the week, which we'll be testing those, and we'll be switching those over. And then we'll be doing the building lights around this building, and then we just have Pivot and Center left to do outsides. And then we'll start inside the buildings, and we'll start retrofitting every light inside the buildings to make them LEDs.
It'll be interesting to see a comparison on our utility bills once the project is complete.
I think it's gonna be a big
I'm
difference.
so sure Mr. Zahorchak has that in his back pocket, ready to show us.
I just
Right.
wanna
Thank
say
you for
that
your
the
help.
lighting makes it look like a totally different gym. I
Oh,
mean,
it
just
does.
the lighting alone
Yeah,
and same
it's
with
like
the
night and
auditorium.
day.
I mean,
It's like night
it
and day.
doesn't even look like the same room. So you guys did a great job. I mean, really, it looks pride and ownership. And
Something that-
it shows.
Something that I wanna say is the support staff that I have behind me with Mr. Zahorchak and his staff, because I'm in his office every day. You know, we're going over comparison of contracts and bills and things that we can do. And it's nice to have someone who's there when you need them, you know, and we go through these projects and I'm in there quite a bit. You know, it's nice to have the support staff. Well, yeah, you know, it's just the honest truth. I couldn't do it without the support of everyone who's behind me, which is nice.
Great job.
So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
If I may address that for 1 second, because I'm in his office every day with something, in the middle of all these projects, little things that I found, the staffs have been able to go and correct them over a period of time. He'll tell me if it's on a list that he's already got, and they're getting done, so it's making my job a little easier on that side. I just wanted to address that because I'm watching that, there's a whole lot of things in the high school that I found that he's got corrected that he didn't put in there, and the staff did too. I just want to put that in there.
Thank you,
Make it-
officer,
make it-
that's
Thank
very
you.
important from your angle.
Thank you.
We only have 18 open work orders, by the way. Only 18 open work orders at this time.
As
Everything else
opposed
is
to hundreds.
completed.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
All right, great. Letter D, transportation. Who's taking that?
Is
Scott.
transportation?
Scott.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The first thing we have is a student contract for transporting 2 students. These are situations where we would normally contract out, but the fees for doing so are quite significant. The contracts that we have with these parents are a fair rate for the parent and for the district. Pretty much what we're paying these parents to transport these 2 students will be, revenue and expenditures will be even, it'll be neutral. What we pay out is basically what we will get back in reimbursement. So in a sense, it's not really costing the district anything to transport these 2 students by providing the parents with the funding to be able to do that themselves. We've had the one contract for several years now. The parent seems very happy with this contract. Like I said, we're happy with it. It's our cheapest route to transport these students. And the second contract is just a mirror of that first one.
Scott, I'm looking at the 3 provisions here that they're supposed to do. Heaven forbid there's a severe collision while they're transporting the student. Is there any blowback on us for liability for that?
No, it would be the parents' insurance that would have the coverage for that vehicle and anything else that would be in it.
Okay.
Since it is the parent transporting and not, a third party.
Okay. Just wanna make sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3 is the MOU for the Allies for Children. They're working on a project, it's in a pilot stage right now, with several districts. They're working with East Allegheny, McKeesport, South Allegheny, Penn Hills, Woodland Hills right now. We've reached out to them. We've recommended that they reach out to Borough, New Ken, Gateway as well. Basically what they're trying to do is take all of the data from all of these districts and throw it into one enormous routing software system and see if there can be efficiencies that could be gained by 2 or 3 districts going together and servicing several charter schools with one bus for several districts.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
They've done this in a smaller project with other districts, and they have seen that there is a great deal of potential for savings. Their goal is to get the eastern suburbs all on the same page with this, so that everyone is on board, everyone is willing to participate. It will cost the district no money to participate in this pilot. It is all funded through grants. But basically, they want to see, is it feasible? Is it sustainable? What will the savings be? Their goal is to, if it is sustainable, to hand this project off to the participating districts after it's established, and have the districts fund it with the savings that they're realizing. So basically, it'll make a more efficient system, and the districts won't be paying any additional funds, but what it's really doing is it's grabbing that low-hanging fruit that the charter schools and the parochial schools, every district is servicing them that are near each other. And if they pull all of their resources, that leaves additional resources for transporting students experiencing homelessness and things of that nature. So that is their end goal, is to be able to provide more services for those students by making other areas more efficient. They did provide us with an MOU. It's very basic, and one of the items in there states specifically that our district can opt out at any time we feel we would like to. It's not we're not guaranteeing that we will participate. They may do the research and do all the data crunching, and they may say, well, you know what, you're not really gonna save much, so there's not much we're gonna be able to do to help you, so then we would naturally move out of the program. But we may realize significant savings and opt to participate. I think it's a great idea. I think Allies for Children is a great partnership to get into that can actually make this happen.
So you're just asking for board approval to participate in the data sharing. We aren't being asked to agree to participate in the actual transportation change at this point.
Basically, that's all.
fine with that.
What they're gonna do is, they're gonna send me the format in which they need the data.
Okay.
I will be providing them last year's data. Basically, our bus stops, number of students going to each school, addresses of those students, that type of information.
Scott?
Thank you.
I know in prior years, we've had as many as like 60 out-of-district routes to do. This is such a commonsensical approach. I'm surprised it hasn't been done before, but it's refreshing. But it could significantly cut down on our 60 routes, couldn't it?
Well, we have already cut down on our routes significantly since we redistricted, since we went to the middle school and the junior high school students riding the same buses. We actually eliminated, I think it was 9 bus routes between last year and this year. I was showing John that pretty much our reimbursement is almost exactly the same amount for this year as it was last year, which doesn't sound good because you should get more each year, but we had 9 less buses and routes. So that's 9 less buses that we had to pay for, 9 less drivers. So that was pretty good. Our out-of-district schools, we have a little over 50 right now, and we have 49 bus routes. So we're doing all of our in-district plus 50 out-of-district schools with 49 buses. So we're pretty efficient, but there are other, there may be other efficiencies out there that we could take advantage of by pulling with other districts. The reason I'm saying it's so good for Allies for Children to be involved is everyone has thought of this,
but nobody got around to doing it.
There's who takes the leadership in? If you have 5 districts in it, who's in charge? So I think it's a great partnership. I'm glad they took the initiative to do it.
Hey, Scott, I see this is driven by First Student. That's a good class transportation operation in a lot of states. Have they done it anywhere else?
Excuse me. It's not really.
Or is this something
They're
totally
not really
unique?
doing this study. What's happening is we're using their software.
Okay.
To create these routes.
Okay.
It's a contract that they have, and actually, their 1 year is up, so they're gonna be renewing it, and if they find a better use the First Student Routing System now, but that's what they're currently using.
How long does it take once they gather the data to come back and say, this will help us or this won't?
They told me it would be at least a year to gather data and.
Okay, so this is, okay.
Scott, I have a couple of questions. One, oh, I was like, Dave's not here anymore. Did you look at this already?
I'm not.
Okay, so I'm just wondering what the term live implementation means, and if that is just data, or if that is us actually entering in.
Yeah, Scott.
And then, so it says it in number one, initiative duration, and then it says with a live implementation projected for the 2021 school year, under number
Right,
one.
right.
But then if you go to F,
So basically what they're referring to is that during that first year, they're gonna take all this data, compile it, take it back to their districts. They're not really going to make it live. They're not gonna actually send buses out to see if those routes work. What they're gonna do is send that information back to the home districts. And then we review all of that data, and we may say, you know, that it's set up this route to be run this way. You can't possibly do this. You can't come out of O Block Road onto Salzburg Road and make a left-hand turn there. It's not safe. Things of that nature. So that's why it's gonna take a year, because every district is gonna have to review all of those routes that they send us. Then what they plan on doing is the following year, actually testing it in real vehicles.
right, can you read letter F?
Oh, I'll look into the whole contract.
So, my concerns come from it sounding like once the board approves it, we can't get out of it until after the live implementation.
No, we can exit at any point. In fact,
Letter H.
they said that we don't even need board approval for this. All we really need is the superintendent's signature. We
I
just
just
felt it
wanted the
was
board to see it.
appropriate
Yeah.
to bring it to you.
Okay, if we can ensure that it doesn't mean that we're entering in, like that we are agreeing with doing this, to saying that our students can get on the buses. I just have concerns with the school districts that are participating at this point, and our students being on buses with students from those districts and duration of time, all those kind of things. So that would be my concern. If we're saying data, I don't have a problem with it. If it's saying we're agreeing to data and then a year worth of us doing it, that would be my concern. It just read funny to me.
No, absolutely. I mean, Dane, please review it.
Will do.
And I think H actually refers to the opting out procedure.
Yeah.
So read that as well.
Yeah. Good point, though. That's a good point.
Allies for Children.
Thank you.
Is really a phenomenal organization here in southwestern Pennsylvania. They focus on the PA Schools Work Fair Funding Campaign. These are the districts that are currently included. Patrick Dowd, who's the executive director, had the kids first on the ballot last fall to really look at the funding issue. They're committed to really, Jamie Baxter is their government liaison, to really helping school districts navigate some of the issues, and transportation being one of those, where the state wanted to eliminate that line item. And districts are really struggling because you can't get drivers. You train the drivers and they go to Port Authority or different things. And so these were issues that the superintendents and a lot of different funders like Grable and others who are funding the Allies for Children really want to help school districts in southwestern Pennsylvania navigate some of the challenges with funding programs for schools.
Yeah.
And would the, and I don't know if this is a question for which one of you, the kids, the districts that they're coming from, those kids would be going to the same schools anyways. So they would be involved with those kids, not necessarily just on the bus, they would also be, am I understanding that
That
correctly?
is correct.
Okay, so they would still have interaction with them either way?
Yeah, they would be their classmates in school.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I guess, I think, right, absolutely. I think one of the questions I would have, what happens when there's an incident on the bus? Like, that's my concern is.
I don't know all of this information yet.
That's okay.
Actually, John and I had one meeting with Jamie, and tomorrow is the first meeting that I'll be attending at the AIU, and, you know, I had several questions for them as
Yeah.
well, that she couldn't answer, and she said, these are questions that are not gonna be answered until we sit down and we all discuss it together.
Okay.
My first
Brainstorm.
question was,
Yeah.
what happens with snow delays?
Oh, true.
You know, so there's 1,000 different questions that
It's a
we'll
good
need to.
operational question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
They're really looking at trying to regionalize,
Yeah.
things. I know in my previous district, we, another school district contracted with us. And so there were issues, you know, the cameras, some discipline issues, and both school districts come to the table. And typically, these are for your special education schools. And so, again, there's some pretty good track records out there of shared transportation costs because of the needs and partnerships. But I think they're really trying to formalize that to really look at how they could better support the region.
Okay, thank you.
Good concept.
Yeah.
See how it works out. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Thanks, Scott.
Go far.
I have nothing else,
Thank you, Rick.
except to say that I'm really impressed with our facilities update.
Yeah.
That was good, that was an impressive update.
Very good.
Yeah, we should have befores, but I've seen a lot of the befores.
Oh, we've been here,
Too, so-
yes, our employees don't see enough.
All right.
And the community knows, I believe the community sees it, and the changes that have been made. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody on that. Moving forward, Eastern Area Schools, Dr. Anderson liaison.
Yeah, I know I keep talking about it, but they are supposed to be reaching out to Dr. Highland and to Mr. Zor. Did you get something in?
We talked to them, and Ashley and I talked to them last week.
Okay.
They said they wanna meet with myself and the superintendent, in late November, early December.
Yeah.
Apparently they have some major facility upgrades that
They
they
do.
wanna make.
And so they're saying this is bigger than a board issue. We want to get the superintendents and business manager back together to understand how to handle it. So that's pretty much what, they had an open house this past, month, which went really well, but the facilities issue continues to plague them and how to do, and what, it was interesting to hear the discussions with all of the focus that we've had on safety, that they don't have the funding to focus on safety as much, and with special needs students who are there, what can they do in those situations? So I think they've recognized turnover in superintendents in some of the districts over the past couple years, so they'd like to bring them back together and be able to address it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Forbes Road, CTC, Mr. Rogers, liaison.
I don't have anything this evening.
Thank you. Intergovernmental, Mrs. Caldwell, liaison.
Nothing this evening, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Policy, Mrs. Aquaviva, liaison. Letter A.
I am going to defer to our new assistant superintendent in reference to this policy.
Yes, being that safety of our students is our number one priority, with kindergarten, Mr. Mergen requested at the superintendent's cabinet that we look at policy 810 to put back in there that parent or legal guardian must be at the stop for the student when they load our buses and when they unload our buses. And so we've revised the policy that was the draft policy to include that language again, so that, again, with safety and security, you'll find that it is highlighted in yellow for your ease of reference. And we would ask that the board approve that in the next meeting in October, so that we can roll that out and notify parents of all the kindergartners and just.
Scott, I thought we addressed that like 2 years ago. We changed the policy.
It was removed about a year ago, I think it was February of last year, it was removed. I just wasn't comfortable with it being removed simply because I don't feel it's right to leave a kindergarten student off the bus with absolutely no one at the bus
Dr.
stop.
Highland, can you show me when that was removed, that was board approved? Can someone bring that and show that? Because there was a big incident when a bus driver dropped off a student at a daycare. Remember that there was an email that went like 2 years ago? There was some situation, we put that in as specifically said when any child got off the bus, somebody would have to be there. And I'm shocked to hear that
Right,
it was.
it was removed, I believe, February of 18. Yeah, it was removed, and this is why I would like it back in there, simply because I don't feel comfortable.
I'm just shocked that that was removed, but I agree 100% that we need that.
It was
I'm
November,
shocked.
November 18th, on the policies that provides.
I'll go back and I'll find that
Get us some
information and report out the email to everybody.
Thank you.
What
That would be great,
we found.
because I don't think
Yeah.
so.
The policy was made active, the revision, was finalized in November of 2018, approved by the solicitor in January, and then made, reviewed by PSBA in February of 19, and made active, after that review by PSBA in February of 2019. So that's the time sequence of the policy. I don't there's no notice as to why it was removed, but that's just the timeline for it.
It's just concerning, because I remember we talked last year at kindergarten, and we were telling parents that, you know, your kid's not gonna go back on the bus if you're not at the bus stop. That's serious, I'm just shocked that that was removed. Thank you for bringing that to our attention with the bus
You did us
drivers,
that
that's huge.
information.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We probably want to move that forward.
yeah.
Right.
Huh.
Good. All good?
Yeah, I'm
Thank you.
good, we just have stuff coming up next month, lots of stuff next month.
Thanks for the warning.
December, you said? Did you say December?
Go right ahead.
Do I understand this correctly, that on this contract with Constellation, that after your revisions, or your office, our office, do we have to take it back to Constellation, see if they agree with what we've changed?
We've been working with Constellation,
So that-
John and I, through this whole process, so this has almost been a collaborative revision.
Okay.
And if you could just give me the information also, Dr. Howland, on
Yep.
the equipment in the gym. Did you get that, Angela?
I didn't get any,
I did get it. So-
Downstairs, or the equipment, the workout space for the kids?
Oh, yeah, I thought we were all going to get that.
I didn't get it.
I didn't. So we all.
It was
were waiting.
equipment, you wanted equipment that was in.
We want inventory of what's in the
What's in
workout,
there,
and what we have for the
workout.
students.
Thank you.
Okay, that wraps the agenda. Any citizens' comments on non-agenda items?
Don't come all.
I wanted to mention something real quick.
Please do.
Going back to the, talk about vaping and the assembly and education for that. I know, I do think it's really important for this to be discussed at the younger age, like 6th grade. But I also think it's important for it to be continued through like 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Because there may be a kid in a situation where, yes, around middle school in like 6th grade, they will be exposed to this and they will need the education to say no. But also some kids won't be exposed to this till later, like mid-high school. And this assembly and this talk might have been something of the distant past. And when they're in that moment, they don't really remember all the dangers and they just go along with it. And I also think peer pressure goes 2 ways as well. You always hear of peer pressure as kind of being talked about as, you know, friends pressuring other friends, if you want to call them friends, to do drugs and things like that. But peer pressure can also be kind of a good way as well, because if you have a group of friends that are pressuring their friend not to vape and not to do these drugs because they believe they have listened to the assemblies and listened to the educators talk about these drugs, a friend would probably be less likely to actually participate in this activity if they don't think it's as cool anymore because none of their friends are actually doing it. So I thought that was important to educate about that as well.
Thank you so much.
I agree with her, I think, and that's why I mentioned earlier, I think you're right, because most things have to be learned, you have to hear them like 3 times before it sticks in your head. So,
And the dangers of vaping our curriculum now,
All the way
in
through.
our health classes.
one at a time.
But do we have dangers?
No, I believe it's all the way through.
No.
I guess we can discuss this next meeting, but I'm just
Yeah,
curious at how much
to
we
review.
address that, yeah.
All right, thank you. Again, Again, welcome to Denise. I'm glad you're here personally. I usually try to make my comments at the end, so Scott kind of jumped me on that one. But we're really happy you're here. I hope everything's going well for you.
It's going phenomenal.
Welcome, welcome.
Great. Upcoming public meetings, action meeting 7 PM, October 22nd in the Borough Building. Next discussion meeting, 7 PM, November 12th here in the library. And then November action meeting, 7 PM, November 26th at the Borough Building. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned.